for all.
All right, good evening.
Mr. Chair, I'll do roll call. Okay, Commissioner Bolin,
Present.
Commissioner Metcalf,
Present.
Commissioner Peterson,
Present.
Commissioner Bacon.
Present.
Let's see, Commissioner Federico, she's absent, and then Commissioner Duran is stuck at work. So Chairman Halby.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right. First order of business, approval of minutes from April 8th.
I move we approve the minutes from April 8th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. New business. Cool PZ 200616, a CUP, conditional use permit application submitted by Francisco Orez Lopez for a manufactured home in the manufactured home overlay zoning district located at 268 West Hess Avenue, Coolidge, Arizona.
Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, as stated, the applicant is applying through our program where we do replacement housing, and so it's part of the federal program through HUD that we're going through and replacing an existing manufactured home with a brand new one, and a double wide, and meets the standards in the zoning code, so they'll be required to meet that. Have a driveway and a couple of trees, landscape. Ernie and I have all talked through that already. Ernie Felice is our grants coordinator here for the city. He's up here in case you have any questions of him. Family's here also in case you have questions of them, but it's pretty straightforward. We're taking out a unit that doesn't meet the requirements and is older and replacing it with a brand new unit. And HUD requires us to replace a manufactured home with another manufactured home. We can't replace it with a stick-built house. So, I'll answer any questions you may have if you have any.
No questions.
No.
All right. At this time, we'll open it to the public.
Yes.
It's a public hearing. At this time, we'll open it to the public. If anybody'd like to speak on behalf, please come to the podium, state your name. No? We'll close it to the public. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Cool PZ 20-06-16 CUP.
I second that.
And the resolution.
And the resolution number 20-03.
I second that.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, everything passed. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Next order of business. Cool PZ 200620, proposed amendment of section 701 of the zoning code, adding plant nurseries and sales in alphanumeric order to the list of principally permitted uses in the garden industrial zone as follows. Section 701, garden industrial, C, principally permitted uses, and number 25, plant nursery and sales. Chair? Director Lopez, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I could have Tim, as chairman, commissioners, something Tim had caught that we hadn't fixed before because we have existing use, and so this corrects and makes it a more viable zone, I guess, if we add, Tim, if you want to add anything to it. We're just adding the nursery plant and sales to garden industrial. So it's called garden industrial, but we didn't allow any nurseries in there, so I thought that was kind of odd. It fits in the use, though it should be fine. So it's something Tim brought up and said, we could fix this right now. So with this, some of these things you'll get in front of you are things we look at over the years that we're making better.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Something we forgot along the way.
just things change. So
Where is this going to make this available to do? And I don't quite understand what we're doing here. We've got a garden industrial I-1, and is it still available in C3 or not available in C3?
Commissioner Bolin, we are not removing it from any district. So should this pass, you will be able to do a nursery in C3, I1, and I2.
And why are we adding it to I2? Or why are we adding it to I1, I guess is the...
It's actually in I2, but not in I1. I don't know why.
What's the difference between I1 and I2?
I2 is a lot heavier industry, heavy manufacturing,
like where Nicola's going, it's
things
I2.
like that. Garden industrial is like a light industrial, but it's usually more intense than C3. And really, the name alone sounds like it should be in there.
It made sense to us.
So we're just adding it to one more zoning district.
Just
There are only three pieces of property in town that are zoned I1, but that could change in the future.
Yep.
And there's some places where I1 would be an appropriate zoning, but I2 would not.
So we currently have that nursery over there in the Christensenville A and D.
This,
Is it?
should this pass, that would allow them to comply with the zoning code.
Yes. That would be a good thing.
I have no more questions.
All right, this is open to the public. Anybody like to speak on behalf, please step forward to the podium. We'll close it to the public. I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman,
Go ahead, Al.
Chairman Helby, I move that we approve Cool PZ 20-06-20.
I'll
Second
second.
that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So this is the one we made some changes to, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is the one I passed out the amended staff report Tim and I both looked at. And so, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, if you look at the existing code on the left, it just shows you what it is. And then one thing, we were going through and making some changes, and we were reviewing it, and we noticed there was a lot of not permitted uses on there, and it was getting kind of convoluted because it allowed like animal veterinary services, but it didn't allow a hospital, but it did allow it for the animals. And I was like, okay, that's kind of strange. But there were some things, and we thought, if we just let it go back to the original underlying zoning, because this is an overlay, that should take care of a lot of issues. And also then what we did is we fixed some things by under the setback section to zero them out, because of some of the downtown areas have if you notice, the buildings are already on zero setbacks, and they go all the way back to the alley. So this would allow that to take place. But we still left the section that allows it to go back to the underlying zoning. So anything that's not dealt with here, we go back to the original zoning that it falls under. So in the downtown, Tim, we have C2, C3, and some industrial, but this is an overlay, so it doesn't change in the underlying zoning itself. So these are just some things we saw, and we have some projects that are proposed coming in that have zero. We're going to have zero lot lines, and they'll match what's downtown. So that's what we saw. So we made some adjustments based on that. Tim and I got through and looked at this, and we would have made it very difficult or almost impossible for that project to go through. So we thought, well, we're going to have more of these. Let's make it fit.
What is the commercial district overlay zone? Where is it located? What are the boundaries?
Commissioner Bolin, there isn't one right now. It exists in the zoning code, but there is not a defined boundary on the zoning map.
So one of the items that's coming up next is setting the boundary of that zone.
The thinking with this, I mean, the section's basically been rewritten, and rather than try and dictate this is allowed and this isn't allowed, we just reverted to the zoning that underlies that, and uses within this zoning will be able to utilize the zero setback provision.
So all the businesses that were principally permitted are being X'd out, so none of those are principally permitted, or they all are, we just don't know?
Most of those are permitted within their underlying zoning anyway.
Yep.
Right now, this has, as written, it has no effect on anybody because nobody's in this zone.
Because we don't know where this zone is.
We do know where it is. It's nowhere.
We just never established. We can't find a boundary for it. So we're setting a boundary.
Established them.
Yeah.
Why are we dealing with this before we know where it's dealing with? Why are we changing something that we don't even know where it exists at?
Commissioner Bolin, the next item is the boundary.
If you want to,
We did not want to establish a boundary
before we had this
with the code as it sits today because it creates a lot of businesses downtown that can't be there anymore because they are specifically listed under not permitted. So if the commission prefers to keep the code as is, we would recommend disapproval or tabling of the next item.
Well, I'd like to know where it is we're talking about putting it. Or I want to change that, so I guess I want to go look at 18. Yeah, I've got it here in front of me. I'm trying to learn how to read with a mask on. Funny how it screws up my vision. Can you put this on the map? Can you put this up on the board so I can see it better?
Yeah.
I take it that Cool 2006-18 is showing the areas that you're talking about making the downtown.
We're not talking about the map yet. We need to deal with this item. You can look on your thing and see where it applies to, but we're not talking about where the boundary is. We're talking about what the boundary allows.
codes.
I'd like to table this until we can talk about this.
Well, or you can, instead of tabling it, Mr. Chair, you can just move the other item ahead of it. And then, well, that won't work.
You guys can do whatever you want.
Yeah. So, when's that site plan coming in? Say table it, can take it to council anyway?
No, they can't go to council. It has to be approved or denied to go to council.
Yeah, we would recommend not tabling because if we get a site plan coming into this, there's some timelines on the financing and everything for this
Are we
project.
allowed to look at these out of order?
Yes, if you want.
Look at the what?
Look at them out of order. I mean, they're just going to look at them. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, we can.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that we look at 2006-18?
Absolutely.
I don't have to make a decision on it. I'd just like to look at it.
Chair, you can do that.
Because it affects 2004-14.
Absolutely. Can you put that up for us, Tim, please?
Again, we don't want to approve a boundary with this.
I agree.
Correct.
I agree. I'm not trying to approve it, approve either one of them yet. I want to see what it is that's going to be approved when we make this decision.
Well, and/or affected, right?
Yeah.
All of downtown.
Yeah, it's downtown, basically.
The boundary encompasses what you think of as downtown. You got C2, C3, I2 zoning. We
Except for the boulevard.
But it doesn't include the
Boulevard is
boulevard.
not downtown. We looked at excluding the stuff east of Main Street on Coolidge Avenue, which is all zoned I2, but erred on the side of caution. Arizona Boulevard was considered in places for inclusion in this district, but was ultimately excluded because downtown zero setbacks work because you have on-street parking. You will never have on-street parking on Arizona Boulevard.
Because of ADOT.
That's what I'm trying to understand. That's all. I'm kind of slow.
So anything on the boulevard would just have to adhere to whatever their underlying zoning setbacks is. There's only 12 properties that are 50 foot wide on the boulevard that aren't developed. The rest exceed the 50 foot.
And this only affects 50-foot wide properties,
Nope, affects everything in that boundary.
no matter what the width is.
Mm-hmm.
This area on Roosevelt and 3rd Street on the northeast corner, that is the Senior Citizen Center? No, that's on the next block.
That is the BIA building.
Ah, okay.
And then the old OS Stapley building.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, and so those areas are already zoned commercial. So we included them in. We don't anticipate that use changing.
What about where the Women's Club is and the office building at 250 Pinkley? That's commercial area,
They are commercial.
and they're not included in the boundary.
They are not.
And also, the one is a church, and one is the Head Start Center, isn't it?
Correct.
Are those both are considered commercial, are they not?
They are.
So
Well, the
why are they
zoning
not
is.
included?
They are not included in
Why
this
are they
boundary.
not included?
They're not what you would traditionally consider part of the downtown. Church can't build much more where they're at.
Head Start can't build anymore, they've already built out.
They're pretty much full.
But we could tear down a building and replace it with something else.
Possible. Sure.
If there was a fire occurred at 250 Pinkley and it was burned to the ground, would they be allowed to rebuild that the same office building in that spot based on the current zoning?
Nope, they would not.
Okay.
The two properties on the west side of that are houses. Then you have the Women's Club, and then you have another house. So this is this lone outlier commercial use regardless of the zoning. The purpose of the intent of the downtown overlay is to create a walkable downtown. You guys have been to towns that have this. They zero setbacks, they have little patios, they do wrought iron fencing. The sidewalks are shady because they have awnings over them. There's a whole aesthetic to a downtown. So daycare centers, not a downtown use, in my opinion. Neither is that church. They're allowed to be there, but we did not apply this boundary to them. We were looking for service establishments, retail,
That's right.
restaurants, and the like, banks, post office, dry cleaner.
There used to be the CPA office across the street.
An
from the
accountant
church is
office.
now a house.
Yeah, things like that is what we're after. We're not aiming to have daycare centers and churches downtown or
The current
feed stores.
zoning for that area that I'm talking about at 250 Pinkley is C2 general business?
Correct.
Okay, now we can go back. Now I understand a little bit better what we're trying to approve here.
So looking back at Cool PZ Under standards and uses, you're asking to remove roof-mounted signage?
No, on the new one, the one I gave you, the other one?
Right.
It's,
It's not on there anymore.
right, but the sign code controls how high those signs can go. We just took that language out of this because the sign code already says it can't protrude, on the highest piece and all that. So we just took that language out and let the sign code rule it and guide it.
Those items originally were developed based on just kind of standards in a downtown study the city has done for revitalization. I mean,
Right.
so that was the thinking in putting them in there, reiterating the fence height, which is kind of covered in another area, but technically business and industrials can have 10-foot walls.
What about the places that currently have chain link fencing, like the Mediterranean Bakery has a chain link fence around their parking area? Is that going to have to be changed out?
The change of this does not affect anything there today.
Existing.
It affects
yeah.
future permitting.
I was gonna
Will
say the
comply. Anything
DFW
existing-
Just put one up.
Anything existing or
Well, yeah,
change of occupancy or things like that would trigger compliance with this code, but the various barbed wire fencing or chain link fencing and with the new recommendation, we're not addressing fencing at all.
And what fencing would be allowed? Only block wall fencing?
Block wall, wrought iron, something a more little decorative in nature that you would traditionally see in the downtown, but
so the amended portion got rid of 3, 4, and 5. And then one thing too, we thought of, we have wrought iron with slats with wood. So we have some businesses downtown that have that. So we wanted, that's why we took some of this stuff out. We can control that during site plan review when we do that stuff. So the amended one is shows 1 and 2. We left 3, 4, and 5. We removed that, and we just changed some of the setbacks to zeros.
And everything else is pretty much the same.
there's a change on number 1, number 2.
Yeah, number 2 we did front, side, 0 setbacks. I yellowed it up on the amended says instead of require, put allow the installation. It originally said we had requires, but we have some that we saw that they're partial awnings, so they're not all the way out, and then so they may have a gap in them, and said, well, we want to allow that variation we can look at that in design review, and so we want to allow some variation on the design, the elevations, and all that, the buildings. So we didn't want to require it on every single, all the way from one end to the other. That's why we put allow the installation of. We can require it in plan review, and Tim could say, well, we need this, and we can, it's part of that process if we want to have awnings in front.
We can ask for it in plan review.
Yep.
And we also removed all the parking requirements?
No, the parking requirements still apply from the regular, there's still, on the underlying zoning, what we did is we made them 0 because we thought of some of the parking in, say the Bank of the West, whatever that building. It goes up to the property line, or if we had 2 properties that were sharing parking, if we applied that, we'd have to actually separate them with a landscape area. We wouldn't, they couldn't drive from one to the other because they'd have to be separated. So we thought, well, we'll make that 0 so it works with some of the parking for the downtown overlay only.
Yeah, if that new building is built where Coolidge used to be,
Right.
you're gonna have a problem with the bank and the parking lot between the two of them.
No, it should be fine.
Well, I know, but you can't say this is the banks and this is the other places, because they're both gonna be together.
Well, there's enough parking on we've seen a rough plan of that, even though that's not what we're talking about, but it'll work with this, with the 0 changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so someday we'll get one on where the old drugstore was that fell down. Someday maybe we'll get that property developed again. So that would be perfect for this, where you can have 0, which is how that building was, where Moon Shooters was before. It was a 0 lot line back, front, and side. So.
All right. Any further questions?
Chairman Halby, I move that we approve.
Hold on a second, Al. If I may, Chairman,
Please.
be clear at what you're approving.
Yes.
Because if you just approve the case number as I gave it to you, you're approving what you see up there. If you would like to approve the amendments
Just, you can approve
given
it.
to you today, you need to
Just clarify.
specify.
That's what I got in my hand.
Yeah. Just say the amended version of,
Will.
please. Thank you. Is that,
No, it's not okay. You need to specify the amendments you're making, because you guys do have the amended version, but that's not what was advertised out there. So your motion needs to reflect the things you want removed or changed. So an example motion, if you were to do it as presented, Cool PZ 200414, changing A2 to say front and side setbacks require installation to allow installation, removing 3, 4, and 5, and changing the parking lot setbacks under table B to 0. Is essentially if that's what you're going with.
Trying to make my life miserable. Maybe I don't want to make the motion. Chairman Halby,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve Cool PZ 20-04-14 as amended to Section 905 of the zoning code, changing the requirements in the downtown commercial district overlay zone, and specifically the amendment to Section 905A, and removing B, C, and D.
no, removing 3, 4, and 5,
Removing 3, 4, and 5,
and then changing the language on number 2,
and changing
the yellow.
changing the language on number 2, and changing the setbacks, and
in the tables.
in the table.
Is that-
Did
So,
I get it all, Tim?
so you may want to just go through, say, as it reads, just read the, say, front is 0, interior corner side 0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What you do is you make this motion so if someone goes back and looks at the video and sees what was advertised, they know what you're changing.
Okay.
So just,
Changing the setbacks on the front to 0, the interior and corner side to 0, the rear to 0, the residential zone boundary to 20 foot, parking lots front 0, interior side 0, corner side 0, residential zone boundary 3 foot, maximum height of any structure to 30 feet.
Perfect.
that's it.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Don't throw it. Sorry.
Well done.
Yes, perfect. All right. Now it's the boundary.
Now the bottom. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Cool PZ 200618. Proposed amendment to the zoning code defining the boundaries of the downtown commercial district overlay as shown. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we covered this a little while ago under your discretion, and so basically what we're doing is we're applying the previously approved overlay on this specific, within the specific boundary. Of course, later if we decide we need to expand it or change it, we can come back to you and do that, but this is what we're proposing at this time.
So we can expand and contract this.
At a later date, if
At a
we'd
later
have to
date.
re-advertise it and everything, yeah.
Well,
Anything
you'll
is,
go through public hearing.
yeah, same as
everything
now.
just much like a rezoning would.
Right.
For any change to the boundary as it gets approved.
This one right now worked for everything we know that's coming up.
I like the idea of a walkable downtown.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll get trees and everything. Get some more money.
But there's not very many people here that have walked downtown Coolidge.
True.
I have.
It's not very shady.
Oh, it used to be,
Yeah.
when all the buildings were there,
Yeah.
and all the people were there.
And we have some islands in there we can eventually put landscaping in, but we come up with the money to do that. We're working on it.
Little park setting. All right, any discussion on this?
No, I think it's time.
I'm good.
All right. At this time, we'll open it to the public. Anybody like to speak on behalf of Cool PZ 200618? Please step forward. We'll close it to the public and entertain a motion.
I motion to approve Cool PZ 20-0618 as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a second.
A second.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
We've already dealt with 21.
Yeah.
21.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we're recommending you just table Cool PZ 20-6-21
Okay.
because we took out the section this applied to.
I actually recommend you just deny it.
Just deny it.
It doesn't, what it's referencing back to
Doesn't
was
exist.
struck from the code via the previous motion. So
Yeah, denial's fine.
you could approve it and it doesn't do anything anyway, so there's no reason to table it to come back and talk again about it.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's fine. That's right.
So, do I still open it to the public?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can.
Still gotta
We're hearing
run
it, right?
Yeah.
So at this time, we'll open this to the public, Cool PZ 200621. If you'd like to speak on behalf, please step to the podium. We'll close it to the public, and we'll make a motion to approve or
Deny.
disapprove or deny.
Commissioner Helby, or Chairman Helby, I move that we, deny or remove from the record Cool PZ 20-06-21.
All in favor, can
Second.
I get a second?
I second.
All in favor of denying Cool PZ 200621?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion denied.
Thank you.
Reports from the director.
Chairman, Commissioners, just a lot of activity going on. It's really good. I know I know Commissioner Boland's seen all the houses that are going on. Richmond Americans pulling, I think they got 13 houses approved. They're getting ready to pour all those over in McClellan Meadows. We have D.R. Horton, which is, they're called Express Homes, but it's a subsidiary of D.R. Horton over in Martin Valley. They built 2 models in like a day. It's crazy. And I've only seen that when Habitat was doing a house and the firemen Glendale built one a day. I was shocked. Anyway, it went up and it's in Martin Valley. They're working a lot of houses there. They pulled permits on the models here around Heartland Loop to the right. So that's under, if you see all the heavy equipment moving back and forth, they're doing that. KB Homes came in and picked up permits for theirs, and they're on the left side of Heartland Loop if you're heading to the west. They have a sign up, and that's where they're going to start. I haven't seen any dirt moving or anything like that. We also have, what else do we have? We have Cross Creek that's getting ready apparently with to do some things. They're checking the sewers and they're checking the water lines and everything else to reactivate. There's about 300 lots there that can be built on. So they're working with the builder on that one. We haven't seen the models or anything like that yet, but we know it's happening. We have Avanti on Elm started across, if you haven't been over by the transit facility up the street here, they've got some heavy equipment going back and forth for those 34 units that are going to be built, apartments. And they had the groundbreaking and the ribbon cutting. They had the groundbreaking on this one, the ribbon cutting on the one on Main, Avanti on Main, a week and a half ago? 2 weeks ago? Yeah. And so that's done up there. The slabs have been poured on 2 of the units, I think maybe 2 or 3 of the units over on Casablanca. And so they should go vertical really quickly. We've been having meetings with Nicola on the grand opening. And so we'll see they're putting together the list. And it's going to be a smaller event. It's not going to be a big do because of the COVID and the heat and all that. But they're planning another big event in November or December, I believe. It's going to be up in the valley. But for right now, they're planning to do something down here. We're helping them with logistics and everything we need. It's pretty exciting. Finally, we're waiting for a site plan. It'll come before you, so we'll let you know as soon as we get it. We'll schedule it to the next meeting. If for some reason we need to, we may call you for a special meeting, but I think we'll be able to just stick to the regular schedule. And but that'll come before you for approval, hopefully quickly. So we've been after them to get us that site plan, but they've been holding it. We've seen a copy of it, but we couldn't have it. It was by Wallbridge, so we looked at it, and we're letting them take care of all that stuff. And Daryl Wilson with Hildegard Wilson is the engineering firm that's working on it, and then Wallbridge is who we're talking to at this point, and all the Nicholas staff, of course. So that's exciting. Plus, we're also dealing with other companies along the iPads we're under NDAs with those, so I can't discuss them. Or they said they'd send the murder hornets after me, so I said okay, I won't say anything. It sounded pretty terrible, so I said, okay, no problem. No, but, we normally do that. NDAs are pretty normal. So we're getting a lot of activity, and I think once we see Nicola break ground, I would think all that activity will speed up because all the supporting, we already had some supporting businesses that have been contacting us and wanting more information, and there's some that are working directly with them that we're not privy to yet, but we will be, so pretty exciting times.
A lot of ancillary stuff goes with that.
Yes, and that's where you're really going to get a lot of business coming in and want to support that, and also luciding, so because with those 2 big businesses here, and they're kind of related in the electrical type hybrid vehicle, that's going to really help bring.
I'm on their website. They just
Yeah.
announced a big thing September 9th, I believe, is
Yeah.
their grand opening.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. I don't know if there's any questions you may have of me, something you've heard that I can answer. But
Who's going to build the Nikola truck, the little truck?
the tray? Yeah, right now the tray is supposed to be built in Ulm, Germany. And I believe it's that the agreement they have with Iveco, which is a huge manufacturing. They make tractors, and they make, I think, the case, and they make trucks in Europe and all that. So that's a European model, but they can actually actually ship it here if they want to. It's a smaller truck, but it may work for like shorter runs. The big truck will be built out here. So that's the Nikola one.
Pickup truck.
Oh, that they haven't announced that yet. And they could.
Be built in another factory for now.
The Badger, yeah. I mean, we haven't seen. They haven't told us. All we know is in this one, it's the Nikola one, and then all the related items that may go with it. So you may see either on-site or off-site ancillary things, that help build that truck. So, but the Badger, they haven't named a location for construction, to build it, not construction, to manufacture it is the right term, I guess. A lot of excitement around that truck. It looks pretty cool.
I'll test drive it.
Yeah, looks pretty powerful. It's a nice truck. I know they sold out one of their proposals for people that wanted to get in line to buy one later when it's available. So they had 3 different packages, and one of the honey package or something they called it was sold out. So anyway, pretty cool. That's all I have, Mr. Dave. Tim, you have any? Carol? Nope. We're just busier than heck. We got a lot of houses going on. Carol does an outstanding job as well as Tim. We're just trying to hang on. And Stantec's out there doing inspections, so just trying to keep up.
It's rough right now. It's rough out there for everybody.
Yeah, and then all this stuff going on. But they're troopers, man. We got a great team.
Yes, you do.
You have a great team.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
Just so you know, I have the transportation manager and 2 drivers from Fisher Industries at the park.
Oh, cool.
And they're going to transport 3,000 loads of border wall
Wow.
from Stinger
Mhm.
to Sassabee for that 46-mile stretch that Fisher Industries got.
Yeah, they got a big contract.
46 miles.
Yeah, that's
Biggest, 1.3 billion.
yeah. That'll keep them busy.
Yeah.
That's good.
That is good. It's good for Stinger.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
They expect it to take 1 year.
Yeah,
All right.
it's awesome.
So just thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, I
that.
appreciate that.
You didn't know that when I did.
Well, I knew they had the contract. I just
Yeah,
didn't,
but
I hadn't heard about you had people over there. That's good. So that means they're staying in Coolidge.
Yes.
They're buying food here and everything.
right.
That's awesome.
Shopping here, living here.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, I do. Don't worry.
All right. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
You got call the public? Where you did? Just call the public. Probably just.
Okay. One more time. Call to the public. Anybody would like to speak on behalf of anything tonight, please step to the podium. All right, we'll close it to the public and take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all your hard work.